there's a three-step process that goes into creating and running a Java program. First step is you need to create your source code. You need to type your source code into a text editor. We just did that, right? We typed into a notepad window our hello.java. Second step, you need to compile your source code into bytecode. Well, what is bytecode? We have a little picture over here that might help. Our program hello.java is source code. If we run a tool called the compiler, which in Java is the javac command, and we hand it to the hello.java program, it'll generate for us a class file or bytecode file. This is a binary file that contains the contents of your source code in a readable format. Well, readable to the Java virtual machine, not readable to humans. The human readable is the source code. The bytecode is readable to a JVM. So step one, we write the source code. Step two, we run the compiler. Since our code is in the examples directory, we can run the javac command telling it to find hello.java in the examples directory. In Windows, we use a backslash here to say hello.java is inside of examples. If you were on a Unix, Linux kind of system, you could do a / instead, since that's the appropriate separator on those systems. So step one, write the code. Step two, compile it, provided the compiling happened cleanly. Step three, you run your program, or you interpret the bytecode. Well, to run the program, we use a different tool called the Java tool. So javac is the command to compile. Java is the command to run our program. Again, looking at the diagram, when we run the Java command, what we're doing is we're asking the virtual machine to load up the bytecode for our class and to call the main method, to run whatever code's in the main method. And so the Java code, we pass it, we say in the examples directory, find the hello class and invoke it. Notice there's no extension. It's not hello.java, it's not hello.class, it's just the name of the public class. That's what we're supposed to be doing here. The other thing that's a little awkward is this is a / here. Well, at this point, the Java command is saying, tell me what to run, pass something in to run. And it's written in more of a Unix way than a Windows way, and so it likes /. Whereas up here, the javac command, we were saying look in the file system for something. Here, it's kind of looking at it from a different angle. If this is kind of confusing to you, an alternate syntax that maybe is easier to remember is you can put a period or a dot. Say Java space examples.hello, and that would work as well. And by the way, if you have command line arguments, you just put them in after the name of the class you want to invoke. One after another, white space separated, and those would be passed to that arguments array on main. So let's go ahead and run a compile and invoke a program here. What I'm going to do is use that Windows key on my keyboard again and click on the letter R as in Roger and type in CMD to open a command prompt. There's a command prompt. When that opens up, it may be on some other drive. Some of you folks might have it open up to a drive on your file system. In my case, I have, like, for example, an iDrive. Well, if you type in C:, that'll take you over to your C drive. And if that's where you saved your files, that's where you'd want to go to. I want to go to the top of the C drive, so I'm going to type in CD space /. That takes me to the top of the C drive, just a C:/. I'm going to CD into my intro to Java directory, so CD space intro to Java. I'm going to CD again, change directories is what CD stands for. I'm going to CD into chapter 2 as well. And so now I'm in the chapter 2 directory. And if I look inside the examples directory, remember, or I guess I haven't said this yet, dir means display the directory contents. If you were on a Linux, Unix kind of system, it'd be an ls command instead of dir. If we look here, we got hello.java, and there's also hello world.java. That example was available as well. It's not exactly as interesting as ours. It doesn't have an if statement. We'll go with the one we typed in, hello.java. But there's no class file yet. Well, that's because we haven't run the compiler, at least not yet. And so I'm going to type in JAVAC, javac, examples / hello.java. So I'm currently in the chapter 2 directory. I'm saying run the compiler and have it compile hello.java that exists in the examples directory. I run this, and in this case it came back clean. It didn't give me any error messages. That means I apparently typed this in properly. If we do another peek inside that directory, I'll just up arrow key a couple times and it'll go back in the buffer and find that dir of examples. I can see, or you can see, that we now have a class file that's in that directory as well. Or maybe if you want to see this a little bit more from a visual file explorer point of view, there's hello.class in the same directory as hello.java. Since it compiled cleanly, we now have a class file. Well, that class file is a binary file. It's not something we can really look at least not using a simple editor. So the Java file, absolutely, that's source code. The class file is binary. It's for the virtual machine. And so to pass that into the VM, we run that Java command, JAVA, tell it examples / hello, and it runs the main inside the virtual machine, printing out hello, comma, world. And as I mentioned before, you can also use a period instead of a /. That works just as well to say run the hello class inside my examples package. And maybe that's even a better way to do it, so you don't have to think so much about forward and backslashes. If I wanted to pass command line arguments in here, I can go ahead and do so by putting the name of the command line argument or whatever it may be right after the class I'm invoking. And so now Bob goes in as arg0, and if you remember how our code works, it checks to see the argument length. Is the arg length 0? Well, the first time I ran this, the answer was yes, because I had not passed any additional command line arguments in. But now, with the word Bob, we now have an argument passed in as part of the string array. Actually, it's embedded in arg0. And so now when we print out the word hello, it's followed by the word Bob and the exclamation point as well. So please, on your systems, pause the video and go ahead and do what I just did. Compile and run your program. Well, some of you, when you tried to compile the program, you might have had an error come up. For example, let me leave off a semicolon. I'll take it off after the print out of world. When you run that javac command, and I just up arrowed through my buffer to the javac command, it might have given you back an error message. In this case, it said, hello.java line 11, error, semicolon expected. Even pointed at where it thought the semicolon should be. Trust me, your error messages usually are not going to be that good. That's unusual for it to be as descriptive as it is. Perhaps you'd left off a curly brace instead. Those ones are harder to read. So I leave a curly brace off, I run the compiler through. Now there's a bunch of ugly stuff that came through. Wow. A bunch of things went wrong now that I left off that curly brace. So if you see error messages coming from the compiler, you're going to want to go check your syntax, maybe go ahead and visualize back to what you typed in, clean that up, and save it and compile again. Every time you make a change, make sure to save the file. I'm going to go ahead and put back the curly brace, recompile, and it should be clean again. So the javac should come back without any errors, and that's how you know it works. If you were having problems with compiler errors, again, if you want to pause me for a minute and go fix those, that's fine. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and keep talking about this code. The other thing that I was thinking I should mention with the code, I'm not sure if I said this a minute ago. I get things, I teach a lot of classes, so I forget who I say what to. The indentation in Java is optional, but it's recommended. And if you wanted to use spaces or tabs, anything works. Anytime you open a curly brace, you're basically opening a block of code, and we like to indent the code that's inside that block. So the if statement has its curly braces, and we've indented the printout. The class has curly braces, we've indented the main. So good idea. It makes your code easier to read. The other thing is, if you want to put white space in your code, you're free to do so. Java is perfectly happy with extra white space.